you start your day? You set your tone. You're the master of either a good day or a bad one. You're the master of a terrific week or that of a terrible one. It's all in your mindset. Do you start your day off positively or do you start it off in a dreadful tone? I've shared this personal story several times, how I used to wake up when I worked in an industry that made me extremely unhappy. Every single morning I'd say to myself that I was stuck. Instead of being blessed to see another day, my mind was set to hopeless. Are you setting a positive tone for each day? How are you setting the tone for your life in general? This is a time where you can think positively. Everything is in your mindset. Right now, I have a wonderful 7-day motivational entitled the Go Love Yourself Daily Crown Jewels, the 7-day motivational. Head over to www.goqueen.com and download your free copy of the 7-day motivational map. You can also go to www.goqueen.com and download the full color PDF 7-day motivational guide. This guide is also available on Amazon.com. So go ahead, change your mindset, and remember, every single day you can go love yourself and have a winner's mindset. Go Queen! Hey, so welcome to the Go Queen Brand Podcast, the Q Chat. So right now I have a favorite guest to come back. And actually, I'm going to give her the floor right now. I like to call her the happiness guru. So I'm going to give her the floor and let her introduce herself. We're going to be talking about how to stay positive in spite of.
Hey. Happy Monday. Happy Motivational Monday. This is Tamara Perry-Vance. And yes, I'm a part of the happiness journey. I'm always this hyped energy type person because, like I said, that's a part of my superpower. And the reason why I started this happiness journey is because I remember the days of being sad. I remember the days of being a complainer. I remember of the days of why me. I remember the days of why I wasn't enough. So I changed it around and I became the happy person. I became the energetic person. I became the ball of energy that you can bring anywhere to the table.
Have you always been like that? I know you said like you had some times where you didn't, feel happy and things like that, but did you always have like that thread in you though to just stay positive when you were having those down moments?
No,
So what was the shift? What was the transformation?
the transformation was one day I said, why am I call it my bipolar happiness. Why am I happy when things happen? Why am I happy, say I get a blessing and then I'm up on cloud nine? But if something doesn't go my way, then my emotions are unhappy. Then I have this why me moment because life is not going the way I want it to go. Because it was all about I, Tamara. Why is this not happening for you? And I'm not in this world by myself. And when I started to approach a situation like we, us, you, and started helping people and started not only thinking about myself and my happiness, but all of us. And I always say, we can do things together and you can do it. That's when my whole personal life changed. And the more I helped others and the more I thought about others, the more I became happy,
Mm.
the more the blessings started to come to me. Because I tell you, Sharonda, I came from a place where you can be talking to me on Motivational Monday, and I'm blessed and I'm hyped up and I'm talking about the blessings that I have. And oh, life is so good. And Sharonda, you would call me on Wednesday, and I would be in the bed with the blinds down. I would be
Mm.
unhappy because maybe I woke up and I didn't like the way the weather was outside, or I didn't like a no,
Wow.
or maybe I stubbed my big toe. Why did that happen to me? And what was the point of always doing that? You create your world. We create our world. And if we create our world to think negative, guess what, Sharonda? That's what's going to happen. If
Mm.
we create our world like, I'm not going to have a good day. Why God, why me? Guess what, Sharonda? It's going to happen for you because you said, why me?
See, and that kind of ties in something that I actually posted about that today on Manifestation Monday. That is true.
Wow.
Like, you really have to speak life, and I think a lot of people take that lightly, but our words are more powerful than we realize. Like, I don't think we give
Mhm,
our words enough credit, but we
mhm,
really can speak negativity into
mhm,
ourselves just as we can
mhm,
also speak positivity in
mhm,
ourselves. It's
mhm,
like we can curse ourselves or we can bless ourselves, you know?
mhm.
So I think
And
it really is important what we say and think.
absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree with you, Sharonda, is because I think that a lot of times things wouldn't happen to me. I was an educator, promotions at a job. When I would go into testing, do you know already had a thought process that uh, I'm not a good tester. And guess what, Sharonda? It took me 2 or 3 times to pass that test
Mm.
because it was the way I was thinking. And then, like, say, I woke up this morning. Let's use an example this morning. Our AC broke in the middle of the night. I woke up to 86 degrees on that thermostat, telling me it was 86 degrees in a house we just moved into, and the air conditioner break in the summer where it's 90 degrees. So I had two choices. Either I can complain or I can wait for the office to open and I can get her done. And then I can go and get my uh other things done. And for me, basing it on two things, I chose the positive way. I chose to think you're breathing on your own through this world challenge through COVID-19. I'm not with a ventilator. So I woke up breathing on my own. It may be hot. I woke up after being hit by a car and being on my back for 2 years, 2.5 years. I woke up walking on my own. I may have pins in my ankles, but I woke up with no pain. I take no medication, Sharonda. I only
Mm.
take chewable vitamins. So when I started thinking about that, when I started thinking about, oh my gosh, I could put on my clothes on my own, I can breathe on my own, I can do things on my own. That air conditioner that I woke up to that was broken didn't affect my day. I
Right,
went back.
right.
It's noon right now. I went back in the house. The house is 66. My blessings came because people poured into me for different other businesses that I needed this morning. But Sharonda, if I would have woke up and I would have said I had a bad day, if I would have said, "Oh, Sharonda, let's redo this podcast because I'm not feeling good," over an air conditioner, how effective is that for me? How is effective is that for the people that depend on me? How is that effective to you that's waiting on me to do a podcast? How effective am I for the people that are listening to this at this time? It's all
Mm.
in what I do. It's a domino effect also.
It is, it is. And I like how you mentioned, sometimes we don't realize we just on the platforms, of course, like you and I have similar platforms.
Hmm.
Having a platform like that, I like I mentioned to someone, it's a little different, than if you were, let's say, selling a product. But
Okay.
we're the product.
Yeah.
It's like our
Awesome.
spirit is the product.
Ah,
So
our
on this,
energy.
right. So it can also have an adverse effect where,
Hmm.
there's some days, I'm sure, I mean, it can drain you in a sense because like we're literally giving a portion of ourselves to people. So I, like you said, how we view things, what we're
Hmm.
doing, what we're saying, it is
Hmm.
effective. Okay, because some people really they're dependent on it,
Absolutely.
and it's nothing to take lightly.
Absolutely.
It's a blessing actually. It's using your gift, your anointing to help other people, which is always a blessing.
Absolutely.
But there's so many layers to it. Like you said, if you had to just say, "Well, I'm gonna let that air conditioner ruin my day," would that have been effective for the pieces that you're giving out?
Absolutely.
Like what would have been the effect of that if you had allowed it to get to you? What would that have poured into your Monday
Absolutely.
and then the people that you're
Hmm.
reaching?
Hmm. Hmm. And the thing about it is, Sharonda, I've been doing a project. I've been up all night. I've only had 2 hours of sleep. Do I complain that I'm doing a project and I've had that? Or do I make it a great day and say, thank you, God, for waking me up? Thank you that I'm able to be a gift to somebody. Whether I had a 2 hour project that's going to help the world, let's say that, it's going to
Mhm.
change the world, it's going to change readers and things like that. Those 2 hours don't make a difference to me because I'm dependent on who I can help, who, what, like I said, the domino effect. What energy, like we have
Right.
the same what energy that I can bring by complaining about that 2 hour sleep? Or can I say, you know what, I
Mhm.
had 2 hours of sleep, let's get it going. Take a nap later, let's get it going. Let's figure out what we can do to be, and this is my hashtag, to be the best you. And
Mm.
and also when I stop comparing myself to others, like, oh, they have it like this, or oh, they get to get 8 hours sleep. Maybe they get to get 8 hours sleep, but maybe they don't want to be successful like me. Maybe they're not a go-getter. Maybe
Right.
they don't want the same life as me.
Mm. You just That's a word right
Absolutely.
there. And that's another thing I think
Hmm.
that sometimes people fall into these traps, and like they said, comparison really is the thief of joy
Hmm.
because you sit there and you watch somebody else and like you said, oh well, they have all this extra time and blah blah blah. Maybe that person is not trying to reach a global audience.
Absolutely.
Maybe that person is comfortable being in a fishbowl. That's why I'm real funny about who we follow and who we pour our energy
Hmm.
into and who we allow in our circle as well. Just like we live in a world of social media, you have to be careful who you
Hmm.
pay attention to.
Hmm.
Because, like you said, they may not be on the same path as you. And like you said, they may not be the same go getter as you. They may not have the same goals.
Absolutely.
So,
And you also don't
your
know
mission is
and you
different.
don't know people's story. No one
Right.
knows your
Correct.
story. No one knows my story when they see us.
Mm
So
hmm.
it's a whole
Mm hmm.
different approach. And you know, your blessings came from somewhere deep down inside you. My blessings came from somewhere deep down inside us. So people don't
Mm
know the
hmm.
background of Go Queen. Why are you so adamant about this? People have to think about,
Mm hmm.
man, she's creating her world. And also, maybe I can be a blessing to her, or maybe I can get some tips from her to be that blessing, to be
Mm
that
hmm.
positive person. Let me get a little bit of
Right.
energy from her because me and you,
Mm hmm.
we are kindred spirits. So whenever I talk to
Mm
you, I'm
hmm.
like, wow, Sharonda, you're doing an amazing job. Go girl. Let's give you a high five on the podcast, on the
Mm
IG
hmm.
lives and stuff like that. And I just admire everything. Like your pictures and just your world and the positive energy that you brings to me, I bring it back to you in return. And I think that's what
Right.
we all should do in order to be not just, oh, we're just this positive la la land, but how are we going to deal with the positive in a negative world, the positive when it's not peaceful, the positive when it's not so It's not a this good, beautiful, platonic world.
Right.
Somebody might give me an ugly word. How do I react to them? Somebody might not may say, "Oh, Sharonda, you don't know how to do a podcast, or you don't know how to do this, or whatever." I might maybe I need to give them a smile. So how do I deal
Mm-hmm.
with people in a negative situation? How do I make the good in between a bad situation? Because number one is I have to remember my blessings come from God, not people.
Mm.
So when you bring in joy, when you're bringing peace, when you're bringing happiness, and people are bringing you chaos, where do your blessings come from?
Mm.
And if you don't believe in God, it could be your higher power. But it never comes from people. It comes from a source of energy. It comes from something higher than what you have in the palm of your hand and what you see.
Mm. And that's why energy is something that I don't take lightly at all.
Absolutely.
And something else that you said that I love how you said the energy that you receive from someone, you give it back to them.
Absolutely.
And that's true. You ever just, there's been moments where I can't really be around certain people if I'm like in a very fragile mood.
Hmm.
Like if, because I know like their energy may be negative or just
Hmm.
may not mix with how I'm
Hmm.
feeling that day. And I'll literally feel drained. And
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, well, you know what? I really can't associate with so and so today because I can't have them drain my energy.
Hmm.
Like literally, it's like a battery.
Hmm.
So it is true. And that's why it's so important. I just think we take for granted the steps that we have to do to stay positive.
Hmm.
I mean, and I can't stress it enough. What we listen to, what we eat, what we see, who we talk to, the
Hmm.
activities that we do,
Hmm.
it can literally make or break our spirit.
Yes.
So it's important to just watch what you feed into, and especially if you know that you're hypersensitive to the world. So, and I think, like, I know I'm an empath. So if I'm around certain people, I tend to pick up on what they're dealing with.
Hmm.
That's why I'm also
Hmm.
very, my
Hmm.
circle is probably as small
Small.
as I don't know what, because I don't, I'm like, I can't rock with everybody.
Hmm.
It's like, I can't let you drain
And
me.
that's great
Like
that you
I'm
know
real.
yourself. You know, some people
Mm-hmm.
don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you're irritated because this person. No, no, I'm not. I'm gonna hang with them anyway. No, you like you put up that good point. You have to watch who you hang with. There's people that call me
Mm-hmm.
literally on my phone that I know that can be a blessing to me because I'm doing a Project Water right now, for the
Mm-hmm.
March on Washington on Friday, and I know that
Mm-hmm.
they want to call me. Um, and I'm like, if they cash at me, they cash at me. If they don't, they don't, because their energy is not going with what I need it to go. And you don't need anyone to grab your energy. And number one, I'm in motivation. I'm in transformation. And Monday is motivational Monday, so I'm doing a lot on motivational Monday. I'm doing a lot to help the community. And I don't need that energy that I do have off of 2 hours of sleep. I don't need you to suck it out.
Mm.
I need to talk to somebody like Sharonda that's going to pour into my 2 hours. That's going to add to my 2 hours. That's going to be like a Red
Mm.
Bull and give me energy and give me some wings.
Mm.
That, that
Tell it.
that's what you need.
Right.
And
It's
you'll get that when you attract that.
right. And it's a full circle. Because on the flip side, some of us expect things from people that we're not willing to give. I know people like that.
Hmm.
They're not going to give you 5 seconds to talk about anything you're going through,
Hmm.
but you're supposed to give them 24 hours
Hmm.
for them to do this woe is me stuff all day.
Hmm.
People like that I can't deal with.
Hmm.
It's like
Hmm.
they get on my block list super easy, and I may not block them forever, but there'll be some moments where I'm like, okay, I need to put this person on pause for a few weeks
Are
because
we twins?
it's not my thing.
We're
I
twins.
mean,
I did that yesterday. I did that. Yeah, I said no, 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 ma'am, no ham, nope.
Right. And see, that's one of my favorite lines too. I'm like, nope, no, ma'am, can't do it. I just like I'm gonna bless you and block you
Mhm,
for a little bit
mhm,
because I can't,
mhm,
and some people are blessed and blocked permanently. I'm not gonna lie,
mhm.
but some people they
Oh,
get
oh,
blessed and
oh
blocked
yeah.
temporarily.
Mhm,
But it all depends on how I know your levels work.
mhm.
But we do have to be mindful too. If we can't give it, how can we expect to receive it?
Absolutely.
And that's another thing that I feel like sometimes, and I've been talking about broken people a lot lately. Like I know I shared with you the Meet Sharonda thing I just
Mhm,
recently put on my website because I'm like, you know what? Like you mentioned, I want people to know more of how I got to this stage
mhm,
because I don't want to just jump out the gate like, yeah, I'm Sharonda and I'm positive I'm happy every day. No, I'm not. Oh, I'm Sharonda, and all 43 years of my life have been awesome. No, they haven't. You know,
mhm.
so I want to give more of a background as to how I learned to navigate through
Mhm.
this. So,
You got to be
and I've
kicked
been
down in order to receive yourself up to a different level. I know that most motivational
right.
speakers, when they talk, they'll talk about the days that they were depressed, the days that they were.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, like I said, getting hit by a car and sitting on my back for 2.5 years, baby, I told myself I'll never go back there. So you have to, if you're unhappy, if you're a negative person, do the work.
Yes.
It's work. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, oh, Tamara just got this bright, beautiful energy. Do the work because
Exactly.
it's easier to complain than to be positive. I'll tell you that.
And another thing too, I feel like there's a difference between someone who truly wants to motivate you and then there's someone who's a narcissist that just wants to talk about themselves all day. And me and you both have the religious background too. I can go on all day about
Oh,
this, but I know
oh,
several
baby, the
people in my
black
life
church. Hmm.
and with my experience, I know a lot of people they talk a good game for 45 minutes, but they don't tell you where they how they got there. And to me, that's when you're on a dangerous level at that point because
Absolutely.
I can't receive you if you're perfect. Okay. The only perfect person, we already know who that is. You're not him. So it's like, I
Yeah.
can't receive you if you just want to come off like, oh, I'm perfect. You're not telling me how you got to this stage. And also, if you take what you've learned and start to get to a point where you feel like, you're better than people, I just think there's a fine line with things. And that's why I
Yeah.
feel like your message isn't necessarily genuine. That's why I
Yes.
try to, like I said, I'm cautious of my circle, but I'm also cautious to not really come off like, oh well, you know what? I can't deal with you. You got these problems. I'm just above that. No, like
That
I
and
know
you're
what it's
being
like.
judgmental when you get into that.
Right, and that's one thing I don't do. But that's why I make a point, just like there's someone recently I just kind of felt like, oh, I can't really deal with them currently right now because they're going to drain me. It's too much. But I said to myself, they're more than welcome, hey, to go read that motivational, follow my post, get it that way. I just can't necessarily serve being
Yeah,
drained at the
absolutely.
moment,
Absolutely.
but this is what I
Absolutely.
can do. Can't offer to sit there and listen to this all day because it's also going to get to me. But what I can do
Absolutely.
is share with you some experiences that you can go read or listen to. You can throw on a podcast, you can listen to this
Oh.
episode, or you can go read, a blog post. There are other
Hmm.
ways, and that's
Uh-huh.
one thing,
For me
I'm
not
like
to. Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
take it to
Mm-hmm.
take it on 100%. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So that's why I also
Exactly.
feel like when people like you and I have these platforms, there's different
Mm-hmm.
levels, where you can give but not let them just take a ton of withdrawals too. But I just feel like it's dangerous when people just come off like they haven't been through things. I just think
Mm-hmm.
there's a fine line with it, you know.
Exactly. And Sharonda, I went through depression because I thought that my imperfections weren't supposed to be there.
Mm,
Because I grew up in the church. I grew up in the
mm-hmm.
African American church. My dad pastor, my grandfather pastor, all of my family leaders in the church, and they didn't tell me that they had problems. They didn't tell me that people in my family had addictions. They didn't tell me that such and such went to jail and they went and paid for them to get out. Everything was put under the rug. Everything was, we don't talk about that. Let's just go pray to God. So when I started having issues in my life, and I was praying to the same God they was praying to, and things were still not happening for me, I went into a depression because
Mm.
I was not perfect. Because see, I didn't see, because I no one told me that you are able to have imperfections and still be great. You're able to be, to go through depression and go talk to somebody, and you're going to be great. You're going to be successful. It's not the end of your life. You can
Mm.
pray to God and still go to therapy.
Please repeat that.
You can pray to God and still go to therapy. You
Thank
can
you.
pray to God and still go and get a therapist. You can
Yes.
pray to God and still have a mental illness. You can
Mm-hmm.
pray to God and you still need physical help on this earth.
Yes. And
You still
see,
need to do some work. You can take some classes. You can do that, and it's okay. It's
yes.
okay.
Yes.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm so happy you said that because same thing. I grew up in a religious family, air quotes
Mhm,
religious, but
mhm,
if you were
mhm.
depressed or if you were sad, the first thing
Oh.
is, well, you just better pray on that. And like I've
Mhm.
said in even some past posts, I don't knock prayer. However, give me
Get
the
you some
other
help.
tools. That's the
Get you.
thing when like people aren't truly centered, and they just tell you, oh, just go pray on it. They don't tell you anything else. So if I got diagnosed with cancer tomorrow, yeah, I'm gonna pray, but I am gonna go seek medical care. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's what I'm gonna do, and like I've said recently, after the whole pandemic, well, we're still in it, but when it first got bad, I almost lost my mother. And I've been pretty vocal
Mhm,
about things with my
mhm.
family. I don't have like the greatest relationship with them for personal reasons. Well, I can't even necessarily it's personal. You can really go on the blog. You'll see exactly why I don't
It's
really
going to
deal
be
with
very open. We're going to be very open with this.
correct.
Hmm.
And just things I was struggling with. And I had so much anger. And this is the motivational person. This is the go queen person. This is the go love yourself. I was so angry between, especially starting around April, to the point it was affecting me physically. And I was like, you know what? I need to speak to a professional because I'm not going to let these people or these situations are, I'm
Hmm.
not going to continue with this
Hmm.
cycle of how I feel like they've mistreated me and disrespected me. Number one is going to stop. And number two, I do need to speak to a professional on how I can deal with this. Okay, because I was taught,
Hmm.
well, you don't, you just pray and that's it. And if you're dealing with some level of depression or something, well, there must be something wrong with you and how faithful you are. That is the worst thing you can tell a person, and that's the worst way to treat someone and make them think, well, if
Hmm.
you're having some problems or if you're depressed or if you have some mental illness, that you must not believe in God or you must not really be
Hmm.
praying enough or you must not go to church every Sunday or see you don't go to church every Sunday, so that's why you're having those problems. Miss me with that one.
Mhm.
Like that's
Mhm.
not.
And then you have this shame that comes over
Yes.
you.
Mm-hmm. Like you're not good enough.
You're like, and you
Mm-hmm.
are. You still the gold queen, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Now you talk to somebody, Sharonda, and you go queen times 10. You got your superpower, and your powers are increased by the work and the help that you've done.
And that was another thing too, because the platform that I do have, that was another reason why I was actually pushed more that I'm like, you really should go because I'm like, I'm not going to let anything jeopardize what I'm trying to build to give to other people. And I want to be able to be transparent. And I'm like, and I have to be healthy in order to do that. And I just feel like
Hmm.
it's a blessing actually when we get to that point when we can acknowledge, okay, I do need help on this. I do need to fix something. I have
Hmm.
something right now. I have
Hmm.
a wound right now and I need to get it healed.
Hmm.
But imagine how many
Hmm.
people are walking around broken people with all these gaping
With
wounds.
with an open scar,
Yes, and they're
with that
not getting
open
them
wound,
healed.
and people throwing salt in
Mm,
it. Lamb, lamb,
mm-hmm.
and they're just folding up and folding up and folding up.
Right.
And the reality is, you can be happy and still walk around with a
Yep.
scar. The reality is, you can be happy and you walk around with your truth and your
Mm-hmm.
therapy and your hurt emotions and still find joy, peace, and light.
Yes.
And that is what real, true love and light and peace is about on this happiness journey.
You have to find your joy, and joy just like the old people say, my joy is not for sale. You're not gonna steal my joy. And it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like a minor
Mm-hmm.
comment, but it's true. Like, there's so many things that can steal your
Mm-hmm.
joy. Let's On a daily basis. Just like you woke up this morning, like you said, the air wasn't working. The most minor things can steal your joy, because once you start off that day on a bad day, like you said, it's a domino effect. Everything is not working at that point. You know, nothing makes sense once that day starts off bad. And that's why it's so important
Mm-hmm.
what we pour in ourselves, even when we wake up, having some routines to keep us positive. And we're all human; things happen, but it's just having that thing in your back pocket to say, okay, I'm gonna whip this out, whether it's an affirmation, whether it's just let me calm down for a second, let me focus on something positive, whatever that tool may be. We have to have something in our back pocket, I feel, to whip out and be like, okay, let me steer this back because I feel this starting to drain me, or I think this is about to defeat my joy. This is about to get me. So what can I
Mm-hmm.
do? Like you said, that superpower, okay? Like, okay, what can I do to pull out that cape to shield myself so I can fight this and move on, and have that good day, to have that good mind frame, to have that good spirit? What's my superpower to get over this?
Mm-hmm. 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 And you know what? When you took the charge over yourself and you said, I need to give me some help because I'm going through this pandemic and my mom is going through this and all that, you took your power back.
And that's an important thing.
That was the moment. That was the moment that superpower
Mm-hmm.
works.
Because we'll have those bad
Wisdom
elements, like
tells
any
you.
superhero. There's always a villain. There's always something that there's a weakness for.
Mhm.
Just like Superman, he had his
Mhm.
villains, but he had something that could
Mhm.
potentially kill him, which was kryptonite, as we well know. So,
Mhm.
what's that kryptonite? Some
Mhm.
of us have that kryptonite. That kryptonite could be something in that family tree. That kryptonite could be something on that workplace. That
Mhm.
kryptonite could be something in your
Mhm.
household or one of your friends. Friends use the term loosely, but what's your superpower? You know what I'm saying? That's something that we
Mhm.
all need to find
Mhm.
within ourselves. What is our superpower? What is that
Absolutely.
superpower that I can turn
Yes.
to when I know that negative element is coming? When I know that negative
Yep.
kryptonite is coming? When I know it's coming towards me,
Yep.
what is my superpower to defeat that so I can move forward? And like you said, so I can make
Mhm.
sure I don't give my power away. you know, what is that superpower?
Uh, And while you're finding your find that
Mm-hmm.
kryptonite. Because once you find that kryptonite, you know where to stay away from. You know who to stay
Mm-hmm.
away from. You know who's to talk to and who's to not talk
Yes.
to. You know who to, like you said, who to block,
Mm-hmm.
who to not. That today I can't take that
Mm-hmm.
call. You know, so as you learn your positive, you need to learn your negative
Right.
because that's how you stay happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you stay. Because sometimes we don't know what bothers us.
True. And that's another thing where sometimes
Sometimes you.
some of
Mhm.
us need to be, and I talk about this a lot on this show as African Americans, and but the majority of us do have that religious background. So that's why I think it's hurt, just the whole notion of therapy, because I think we were conditioned that if you talk to somebody else, you're doing something wrong. But like you said, some of us are struggling because we can't identify what is that source, what's that kryptonite. Okay. And that's where,
Mhm.
for some of us that have made that next step and say, well, I'm going to speak to a therapist, sometimes you do need that extra help to find that thorn, and you need to find it, because you'll continue to go in
Mhm.
circles right now.
Mhm.
And another thing, I feel a lot of
Mhm.
us were conditioned as children to be people pleasers. So people pleasers are going to keep certain people in their lives what they should have cut off a long time ago. Our people pleaser is conditioned where I can't stop talking to blah blah blah, I'm going to be a bad person if I do that. No, you're not. Self-care is the 100% goal that everybody should have every single day. If my self-care says I can't talk to cousin blah 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 because she's negative, and that
Mhm.
energy, and I can't have it in my spirit, well, you need to have some boundaries. But I feel like a lot of
Mhm.
us are we've been conditioned as children, and we don't know what proper boundaries are. And that's
Mhm.
one of the reasons why some of us are drained. We're friends with people that's really not our friend. Or
Mhm.
we talk to people that we shouldn't
Mhm.
talk to. Or we date people who we should have never even given a number to.
Mhm.
Because we
Mhm.
weren't taught those healthy boundaries. But it's never too late to learn them. But you have to get to a point where you can figure out and acknowledge what works best for you, what's draining you,
Mhm.
what's giving me a
Mhm.
deposit and what's giving me a withdrawal, what's doing more withdrawals than deposits. I talked about that in a past
Mhm.
episode. It takes a lot of self-reflection to get to that stage.
And you know why I started the happiness journey? Because I was the number one supercalifragilisticexpialidocious people pleaser in the
Mm,
world. My depression came from tap dancing to what people needed.
mm-hmm,
Oh, I was the yes woman. Oh yeah, I'll do that. Even if I was tired, even if I had something to do, I stopped what I was doing, what which is so important for me to do for myself. Like you talk about self care, and I would say yes to others. So I started my happiness journey because I was the top people pleaser. I was the president of the committee of people
hmm.
pleasers.
Girl, I was the vice president. I probably was the treasurer too.
So Sharonda, when you talked about people, you hit. That's why I say my motto says, my hashtag says on everything that I put in, be the best you.
Mm-hmm.
That means you.
Yes.
You're not gonna compare yourself to nobody. You're not gonna please nobody. You're going to be the best you. Now that doesn't mean you got to be ugly.
Mm-hmm.
That just means that you have put up loving boundaries to say, hey, this is how I feel. This is how I need to be. This is what I need to accomplish for me. And you put up those healthy boundaries, and it puts out the negative boundaries.
Mm-hmm. And we all know what my favorite line is go love yourself. Okay, don't go love
Yes.
everybody that comes
Yes.
in your circle. Don't go calling everybody your friend that you've known for 2 seconds. Don't go letting all these family members drain you. No, love yourself. Because if you don't love yourself initially, first of all, how do you know how to receive love
Uh huh.
properly? How do you
Uh
know how to
huh.
have that boundary and realize, okay, this person truly doesn't love me because you don't love
Uh
yourself.
huh.
You don't know what you need. And that's why you do have to
Absolutely.
love yourself. And that, once again, I feel like we're conditioned where if we do anything for ourselves, oh, you're selfish. When a person mentions something to me and it's like, oh, I wonder if that's gonna be selfish if I do it. I cut that conversation, like I cut that statement off
Mm-hmm.
immediately. I'm like, wait a minute. Doing something for yourself
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is not selfish. And number one, we need to flip
Mm-hmm.
the whole notion, the what selfish
Mm-hmm.
means. It's not a negative thing, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Caring for yourself will
Mm-hmm.
never be a selfish
Mm-hmm.
thing. Will never, at least not
Mm-hmm.
in a negative tone that
Mm-hmm.
we like to make, the notion of selfishness. You have to put yourself first. Just like they say, if an airplane is going down, you have to put your mask on first. They tell you that. If I don't put my
Mm-hmm.
mask on
Mm-hmm.
first, what can I do to anybody else sitting next to me? You have to
Mm-hmm.
pour
Mm-hmm.
into yourself
You
first.
you gonna kill everybody else
Exactly. That's
because
the
you didn't
first
save
thing they
yourself.
tell you is to put your mask on first.
Yes.
And if only
Yes.
a lot of us
Yes.
would look at that and how we navigate our lives. I have to look out for me first. And it's never a bad thing. Because trust me, those users in your life, they're going to look out for themselves first. When it comes down to it and they got to decide between you or them, they're not going to pick you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
those people that have
Mm-hmm.
hurt you in the past, you think they honestly put you first? No, they looked out for their own interests. They weren't really focused on whether that was going to hurt you or not. And like you said, we don't necessarily have to be ugly, but on the flip side, I've always questioned when someone describes someone as mean. I don't normally absorb that either because I'm like, okay, a lot of times people have a label as mean because they said no to a user. So that user turns around and
Mm-hmm.
says, "Oh, so and so's mean. They wouldn't let me
Mm-hmm.
use them for forever." So that's why, like, you
Mm-hmm.
can never come to me and describe somebody as mean because this is going to go one ear, not the other. Because normally, a lot of times when
Mm-hmm.
people put up those boundaries, there's always that user that the money train or whatever, people pleasing train was, that you were, engineering has stopped, and they can't process that either. So that's why, like I always say, you do have to love yourself. You do have to put yourself first, because if not, you will be drained, used, and abused.
Mhm.
And you will have no
Mhm.
level of happiness,
Mhm.
because you'll be so
Mhm.
focused on making all
Mhm.
these other people happy, because your whole motivation is people pleasing. And what have you poured into yourself? There's no shame in being happy.
Mhm. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. You just gave an overview of my adult life.
Hmm. And a lot of us, I feel, were,
Yes. And
as kids, were taught to, like, it's a bad thing to be happy. You know?
oh, oh, it's a bad thing to disrespect certain people that you were saying yes to if they're older. They know how to get it out of you, or they know how to make negative comments
Mm-hmm.
or to put you down. And so your whole day is drained because they cut, I call it
Mm-hmm.
cutting you. They cut you some way somehow and said something. And so when you say, "Oh, well, they're well, you got to respect your elders." No, I have to stay away from them because they're
Yes.
toxic.
Yes. Yes.
And if they don't want to change, I have to
Correct.
change.
And see, you just hit the nail on the head. And I was literally in a situation earlier this year. I was like, okay, I'm in a situation where a particular family member is speaking to me in a manner that I'm like, this is too much. And another thing too, I
Hmm.
realized, and that's one thing why I promote therapy, because I feel like if you have to watch who you get advice from too. Because I had someone in the same family, obviously in my family, say, well, you know, just hold the phone next time they're screaming and yelling. Just hold the phone and let them finish. You telling me at 43 years old, I'm supposed to be berated and talked down to and just hold the phone? Absolutely not. And
And never
that's
say
what I was
anything.
advising, and I had to look back, and I said to myself, you know what?
Wow.
If we're both branches from the same rotten tree, I can't expect anyone else in on that same rotten tree to feed any life into me. So that's when I made a lot of boundaries. I'm like, okay, I also need to watch who I listen to, because I'm like, that is unacceptable under any circumstance. And
And you know what you're doing on this happiness journey, Sharonda? You're breaking generational
exactly.
curses because then you're helping your children. You're helping people around you. You're breaking the generational curse if you start with you. And it's
Mhm.
going to be hard.
Mhm.
It's hard for me, but you're breaking something in the air so it won't go to the next generation. So, the people that are listening to this, I want you to know on this happiness journey, what
Mm.
can you break? What generational curse can you break? How can you're not only helping yourself, you're helping so many other people. And Sharonda is helping so many other people. Just talking to her on this podcast have blessed me today. We're helping so many other people, Sharonda.
And that's when you, like you said, when you find that superpower, you have to take it and run with it. So before we wrap up, as we always do, I want you to leave us. Like I said in a live Thursday, you had fed us, and then I asked you to give us the dessert. So I'm going to say the same thing today. You fed us, now I want you to give us the dessert to fill us up for the rest of the day to round everything out.
And the dessert is Go Queen, Sharonda. The dessert is on this happiness journey. Once you find your superpower and you put on your cape and you put on your happiness and you get that joy and the work is hard, let me tell you this. That's when you start to
Mm.
fly. You start to fly with the eagles, baby. You start to not be down with the pigeons. You fly so high that you don't even see the negativity. You fly so high that the complaining don't even you didn't even know it didn't
Mm-hmm.
even start. You fly so high that that family member, that friend, that person that was getting on your nerves at your job don't even bother
Mm-hmm.
you no more. And once you fly that high, your higher power, your light, your energy, your person that I call is God, your blessings flow in so tremendously that you're going to say, You're gonna have an aha moment and say, all that I've been through and all the work that I did to get here have brought me to this place, have brought me to this honor, have brought me to be a domino effect for the next person that needs me.
Mm,
And that's your
mm.
superpower.
I love it. Give everyone where they can find you. Give everyone your social media handles, how they can contact you, how they can look up your information.
Good. You can always get me on Facebook, and that is at Tamara Marie Perry Vance. Tamara Marie Perry Vance. And you can always reach me on IG at Happiness, and that's HAPPAY_NESS. And last but not least, you can even reach me on YouTube, and it's Myrtle's Mouth. I named it after my
Mm.
grandmother after 17 years of keeping her lovingly self, and it's Myrtle's Mouth. Myrtle is Myrtle, and Mouth Miles, because we're all on this happiness journey together. And remember, look at your fingerprint and always be the best you.
Aw, thank you so much. I always love talking with you. You know, like I said, same thing. You pour into when what you pour into me, I can give back to somebody else, and that's why I love talking to you, and I love having you
Yes.
on the show. And for everyone that's listening, you already heard it. We spit a lot of knowledge in this episode, and we threw a lot of jewels out. So the thing I can just challenge everyone listening: what's your superpower? No, nothing in this
Mm-hmm.
world has promised us that every single day is supposed to be a perfect day, and that we're not going to have trials, and that problems won't happen. We already know that. We haven't been promised that every person that we encounter is just going to love us and treat us great. Like that's not reality. But what is your superpower? What do you pull out of your back pocket? What's that shield? What's that force field that you can navigate through that? I always tell people, I always in my show to go love yourself. And I can't stress it enough. Please love yourself and understand that you deserve the best in life. You don't have to accept or tolerate anything that's going to disrespect you or abuse you and lower you. And it's okay to walk away. It's okay to seek help. So I just challenge everyone, in order to love yourself, ask yourself, what is your superpower? So thank you for listening to the Q Chat, and I hope you received this message because this is a special one. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Q Chat podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Queen's Arrogance LLC. Our company website is www.goqueen.com.